The Grand Nexus station floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal flower. Its silver arms stretched out in all directions, each one bigger than Earth's largest city. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its ports every day. Today was special. Today, the most powerful aliens in the galaxy would meet to decide the fate of worlds. Tae-ho walked through the station's long hallways. His black uniform had the Earth symbol on the chest, a small blue planet with white clouds. He was nervous. Humans had only joined the Galactic Council 6 months ago. Most aliens still looked at humans like they were children playing with adult toys. "Are you ready for this?" Jinwoo asked as he caught up with Tae-ho. Jinwoo was older and had more experience with alien politics. His gray hair was cut short and his eyes were always watching, always thinking. "As ready as anyone can be," Tae-ho replied. "Do you think they will listen to us today?" Jinwoo shook his head. "Humans are the newest members. We get to watch and learn. Nothing more." They entered the main council chamber. It was huge, so big that clouds formed near the ceiling. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that changed colors when different aliens spoke. In the center, a massive round table floated above the floor. Around it sat the most powerful beings in known space. The Valorians looked like living glass statues. Their bodies were clear crystal that glowed with inner light. They were the oldest race in the galaxy and never let anyone forget it. Their leader, Christarch Vex, sat perfectly still. Only the light inside his body moved, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. Across from them, the Nethri looked like balls of pure energy contained in metal suits. They spoke in voices that sounded like singing wind. Their race had given up physical bodies long ago. They thought flesh was weak and messy. The Korath were the strangest of all. Half machine, half living tissue, they had rebuilt themselves so many times that no one remembered what they originally looked like. Gears turned inside their organic parts. Wires grew through their muscles like metal veins. Tae-ho and Jinwoo took their seats in the small human section. Around them, dozens of other alien races filled the chamber. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Tae-ho had to look away. "The council will now hear emergency requests," announced the station's computer voice. The crystal walls turned bright red. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed a planet covered in blue oceans and green lands, but something was wrong. Brown patches spread across the surface like a disease. As they watched, more green areas turned brown and died. "This is Cathara," the computer said. "The Catharan. People have sent 47 distress calls in the past 6 months. They request immediate assistance." Another hologram appeared. This one showed the aliens who lived on the dying planet. They looked almost human, but their skin was see-through. Patterns of light moved under their skin like living tattoos. Their eyes were large and filled with fear. One of them spoke in a voice full of pain. "Please, anyone who can hear this, our world is dying. The sickness spreads faster each day. Our children are getting sick. Our plants will not grow. We need help, please." The hologram showed Kitharan cities. What had once been beautiful places full of light and life were now empty and dark. The aliens moved slowly like they were very tired. Many lay on the ground, too weak to stand. "They look so scared," Tae-ho whispered to Jinwoo. "Quiet," Jinwoo replied. "Let's see what the council decides." Christarch Vex was the first to speak. His voice was like glass breaking slowly. "The Valorian Empire has reviewed this request. These beings show no signs of advanced evolution. They have not developed beyond basic tool use. They contribute nothing to galactic civilization. We vote to deny assistance." Tae-ho felt his stomach drop. They're just going to let them die? The Nethri leader's energy form pulsed brighter. When it spoke, the voice was like wind through metal. "Tubes. The Nethri Collective agrees with our crystal friends. These carbon-based life forms are too primitive. Their energy patterns are chaotic and inefficient. We cannot waste resources on evolutionary dead ends. We also vote to deny." The Korath spoke next. Half of its face was metal, the other half was pale flesh. "Our biological analysis is complete. The Kitharans lack genetic diversity. They show no adaptive mutations. They will not survive long-term regardless of intervention. The Korath Unity votes to deny assistance. One by one, every major alien race gave the same answer. No help. No rescue. No hope for an entire world of dying people. Teho stood up without thinking. Wait! The entire chamber went quiet. Thousands of alien eyes turned to look at the young human. Jinwoo grabbed his arm and tried to pull him back down. Sit down, Jinwoo hissed. We don't have speaking rights yet. But Teho stayed standing. Those people are dying. You have the power to help them. Why won't you? Christarch Vex's light pulsed with what looked like anger. Young human, you do not understand galactic law. Resources are limited. We must choose which species deserve preservation. The Kitharans have had millions of years to advance. They have failed. Failed at what? Teho asked. They look peaceful. They're not hurting anyone. They just need help. The Nethri leader's energy crackled. This is exactly why humans are not ready for true council membership. You think with emotion instead of logic. Sentiment is weakness. Other aliens began to talk among themselves. Some laughed at the human who dared to question their betters. Others seemed annoyed that their time was being wasted. Jinwoo finally pulled Teho back into his seat. You've said enough, he whispered. The council moved on to other business. Trade agreements, territorial disputes, technology sharing between the advanced races. No one mentioned the Kitharans again. It was like they had never existed. 2 hours later, the meeting ended. As aliens filed out of the chamber, Teho sat in his chair and stared at the space where the hologram of the dying planet had been. I can't believe it, he said. They're just going to let an entire species die. Jinwoo sat beside him. The older man looked tired. This is how the galaxy works, Teho. The strong survive, the weak are forgotten. That's not how it should work. Maybe not, but it's how it does work. They walked back to their small human quarters in silence. The station felt colder now. The beautiful crystal walls looked like prison bars. The advanced alien seemed less impressive and more cruel. That night, Teho couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the Kitharan who had begged for help. He kept seeing those large, frightened eyes. He kept hearing that voice full of pain and hope. At Oro 300 station time, he sent an encrypted message to Captain So Young aboard the human research ship Harmony. The message was short but clear. The council voted no. Every single race refused to help. An entire species is dying and no one cares. We can't be like them. We have to do something, please. 3 hours later, he got a reply message received. Preparing the ship. We launch in 6 hours. If the galaxy won't save them, then humans will. Tell Jinwoo to pack medical supplies. We're going to need everything we have. Teho smiled for the first time since the council meeting. Maybe humans were new to this galaxy. Maybe they were considered weak and primitive by the ancient races, but they had something the others had lost long ago. They had hearts that still worked. The next morning, Teho watched through his window as the Harmony broke away from the Nexus station. The small human ship looked tiny next to the massive alien. Vessels docked around it. But it was heading toward a quarantine system that no other race would enter. It was heading toward Kythera. As the ship disappeared into the darkness of space, Teho made a promise. If they survived this mission, if they could save the Kitharans, he would make sure the galaxy never forgot what happened here. He would make sure they remembered the day humans proved that being advanced meant more than having the best technology. It meant caring about others even when caring was hard. The Harmony dropped out of hyperspace near Kythera. Captain So Young stood on the bridge and stared at the dying world through the main screen. What she saw made her heart hurt. The planet had once been beautiful. Old data files showed blue oceans and green forests. Cities of light had covered the continents. Now brown patches spread across the surface like wounds. The oceans looked sick, filled with floating dead things. The cities were dark and empty. My God, whispered Chief Medical Officer Daeun as she joined So Young on the bridge. It's worse than the hollows showed. Dayun was small but tough. She had saved more lives than anyone could count. Her medical bag was always ready, always full of supplies to help anyone who needed it. Today she would need everything she had. "How many people live down there?" asked Hyun-soo, the ship's science officer. He was young but very smart. He could look at any problem and find answers that others missed. "The last count was 12 million, So Young replied. "But that was 6 months ago. We don't know how many are left." The ship's computer started beeping with warnings. Red lights flashed across the control panels. "Captain," called out the pilot, "I'm reading massive contamination across the entire planet. Whatever is killing this world, it's everywhere." So Young nodded. "All crew members will wear full protection suits. No one goes down there without complete environmental gear. I won't lose anyone today." 2 hours later, a small shuttle landed on Cathara's surface. So Young, Daeun, and Hyun-soo stepped out wearing thick white suits that covered their entire bodies. The air around them looked wrong. It shimmered like heat waves, but the planet was cold. "The contamination is off the charts," Hyun-soo said, checking his instruments. "This isn't biological. It's something else, something artificial." They walked toward what had been a city. The buildings were made of some kind of grown material, like crystal trees. But now they were brown and cracking. Dead plants covered the ground in thick layers. There, Daeun pointed to a hole in the ground. "I'm reading life signs underground." They climbed down into darkness. Their suit lights showed tunnels carved out of rock. The walls were smooth, made by tools, not nature. Someone lived down here. A sound echoed through the tunnels. It was like singing, but full of sadness. They followed the sound deeper underground. The Ua tunnel opened into a large cave. Lights glowed softly along the walls. Not electric lights, but something alive. And there they were. The Kitharans. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Their skin was clear like glass, and patterns of light moved under it like living art. But the light was dim and weak. Many of them lay on the ground, too sick to move. Children cried with voices that sounded like broken music. An old Kitharan stepped forward. He was tall and thin, and the light patterns under his skin moved very slowly. His large eyes looked at the humans with fear and hope mixed together. "Are you here to study us too?" he asked in perfect English. "Many come to watch us die. No one stays to help." Daeun stepped forward and took off her helmet. The others tried to stop her, but she pushed them away. "Doctor, the contamination," Hyun-soo started. "We'll have to wait," Daeun finished. "I'm a doctor. These people need help now." She knelt beside a Kitharan child who was lying on a bed of soft moss. The child's light patterns were almost gone. Its breathing was shallow and quick. "What's your name?" Daeun asked the old Kitharan. "I am Kyle. I speak for my people." His voice was tired. "You should not remove your protection. The death sickness will take you too." "Let me worry about that," Daeun said. She opened her medical bag and pulled out a scanner. "What's the child's name?" "She is called Nira. She has been sick for many days, like all the young ones." Kale's voice broke. "We have no medicine, no way to fight this thing that kills our world." Daeun ran the scanner over the child. The readings made her gasp. "This isn't a disease. This is poisoning. Something is in your air, your water, your soil, something that doesn't belong here." Hyun-soo knelt beside them, his instruments beeping wildly. "Captain, you need to see this. The contamination isn't biological or chemical, it's technological. There are microscopic machines in everything, the air, the water, even the rocks." "Machines?" So Young asked. "Nanites. Tiny robots smaller than bacteria. They're breaking down the planet's natural systems and rebuilding them into something else. But the process is incomplete. That's why everything is dying." Kyle listened to their words with growing alarm. "Machines? But we have no such technology. We grow our cities. We sing to our plants. We do not build machines." "These aren't your machines," Hyun-soo said grimly. "Someone else put them here, a long time ago." While they talked, Daeun worked on the sick child. She gave Nira medicine for the poisoning and set up a small device that cleaned the air around the bed. Slowly, very slowly, the light patterns under the child's skin began to glow brighter. "She's getting better," Kale whispered. "How?" "Human medicine," Da-Un said simply. "We're good at fixing things that are broken." Word spread quickly through the underground city. More Kitherans came to see the strange aliens who were actually helping instead of just watching. They brought their sick children, their dying elders, anyone who needed care. Da-Un worked without stopping. She used every medicine in her bag, every piece of equipment she had brought. Other crew members came down from the ship with more supplies. Soon the cave was full of humans in white suits all working to save lives. "Why?" Kyle asked So Young as they watched Da-Un treat another child. "Why do you help us? The others who came here said we were not worth saving." So Young thought about the question. "Because you need help. That's reason enough. But you gain nothing from this. We have no technology to trade. No resources you want. We are dying." "You're alive," So Young said. "That's all that matters to us." Hyun-soo came running over with his scanner in his hand. His face was excited and angry at the same time. "Captain, I know what these nanites are. I know who made them." "Tell me." "They're Valorian, old terraforming technology. These machines were supposed to change Cathara into a crystal world, like the Valorian home planets. But something went wrong. The nanites got confused and started breaking everything down without building anything new." So Young felt anger growing in her chest. "The Valorians did this? Years ago. Probably centuries. They must have abandoned the project and just left the nanites running. And when the Kitherans asked for help, the Valorians said no. They knew exactly what was happening here." Kale had been listening, his large eyes filled with something that looked like tears. "They knew? The crystal people knew what was killing us?" "They knew," So Young said. "And they chose to let you die rather than admit they had made a mistake." The anger in Kale's voice was like cold fire. "Then we are truly alone." "No," So Young said firmly. "You have us now. And humans don't abandon their friends." She activated her communicator. "Harmony, this is the captain. I need you to contact Admiral Seok Jin. Tell him we need the full medical fleet here, and tell him to bring every computer expert we have." "Captain," came the reply, "we're not just here to treat the symptoms anymore. We're going to cure this planet. And if the Valorians don't like it, they can complain to someone who cares." As the day went on, more humans arrived. The underground city became a medical center. Human doctors worked beside Catharan healers. Human engineers studied the nanite contamination with Kitharan scientists. For the first time in months, the light patterns under Kitharan's skin began to glow brighter. Children who had been too weak to stand started to play again. Adults who had given up hope began to believe that their world might survive. Late that night, So Young stood in the tunnel entrance, looking up at the stars. Da-Yun joined her there. "How many did we save today?" So Young asked. 237, Da-Yun replied. "But there are millions more across the planet. Then we'd better get to work. The other races won't like this. When they find out we're here, there will be trouble." So Young smiled grimly. "Let them come. They had their chance to do the right thing. Now it's our turn." Above them, more human ships dropped out of hyperspace. Medical vessels, research ships, and supply transports. The small human fleet grew larger as word spread across human space. The galaxy had abandoned the Kitherans, but humans never abandoned anyone. The real work was just beginning. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived on Kithera. The underground cities were now full of hope instead of despair. Human doctors worked day and night to save lives. But Captain So Young knew they were only treating the symptoms. The real problem was still killing the planet. Engineer Minho wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the nanite samples under a powerful microscope. He had been working for 18 hours straight. Beside him, programmer Ye-Jin typed commands into her computer so fast her fingers looked like they were dancing. "This doesn't make sense," Minho said for the 100th time. "These nanites aren't broken. The programming is perfect. Too perfect. That's the problem." Yejin replied without looking up from her screen. Look at this code structure, it's flawless. No errors, no corruption, no damage from age. Hyun-soo walked over to their workstation. Dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept much either. If the nanites aren't broken, then why are they destroying everything? Yejin stopped typing and stared at her screen. Because they're lonely. What? Minho asked. Look at this. Yejin pointed to lines of code that filled her screen. These nanites were designed to work as a group mind. Millions of tiny machines all thinking together, all sharing information. But something happened to break that connection. The Valorians abandoned the project, Hyun-soo said. They probably just turned off their control systems and left. Exactly. The nanites have been alone for centuries. They're trying to recreate their original purpose, but they can't remember what they were supposed to build. So they just keep tearing things down, hoping that eventually they'll remember how to build them back up. Minho sat back in his chair. That's actually sad. It's tragic, Yejin agreed. These little machines have been suffering for hundreds of years. They want to create something beautiful, but they've forgotten how. The three humans looked at each other as the same crazy idea hit them all at once. What if we don't destroy them? Hyun-soo asked quietly. What if we teach them? Minho added. What if we give them a new purpose? Yejin finished. Meanwhile, in the communication center of the Harmony, Taeho was dealing with angry messages from Earth. The screen showed Admiral Park, the head of Human Space Command. His face was red with anger. You will end this operation immediately, Admiral Park shouted. The Galactic Council is furious. They're threatening to kick humanity out of the Alliance. Sir, we can't just leave these people to die, Taeho replied. The Sci-Fi Council has made their decision. The Catherans are not our responsibility. Then whose responsibility are they? Admiral Park's face got redder. That's not the point. We cannot afford to anger the other races. We need their technology, their trade agreements. Humanity's future depends on staying in their good favor. But before Taeho could answer, another face appeared on the screen. Admiral Seok-jin, commanding the Human Defense Fleet, pushed Admiral Park aside. Park, you're relieved of this operation, Seok-jin said calmly. I'm taking command. You can't do that. I just did. And I'm sending more ships to Cathera. If the Council doesn't like it, they can file a complaint. The screen went black. Taeho smiled for the first time in days. Back in the underground city, Dayun was training Kythran healers in human medical techniques. The Kythrans learned quickly. Their natural ability to sense life energy made them excellent doctors once they understood human methods. The key is not to fight the body's natural healing, Da-un explained to a group of young Kythrans. Help it do what it wants to do. One of the students, a female named Sarah, raised her hand. But what about the poison in our blood? Our bodies cannot heal that. That's where human medicine helps. We clean out the poison first, then let your natural healing take over. As they worked, Sarah's light patterns began to glow brighter. I feel stronger, she said in wonder. The sickness is leaving me. Your people are tougher than you think, Da-un said with a smile. You just needed a little help. Suddenly, Yejin's voice echoed through the cave from the communication system. Captain So Young to the lab immediately. We think we have a solution. So Young found the three scientists huddled around a computer screen. Their faces showed excitement and fear mixed together. What have you found? So Young asked. A way to fix everything, Yejin said. But it's dangerous, and it's never been tried before. Explain. Minho pulled up a diagram on the screen. The nanites want to work together, but they've forgotten how. We can't teach them their old programming. That would just turn Cathera into a crystal world, and kill all the Kitherans anyway. So we teach them new programming, Hyun-soo continued. Instead of terraforming for the Valorians, we teach them to work with Kitheran biology. It's called symbiosis, Yejin added. Instead of replacing the natural ecosystem, the nanites would help it grow stronger. They would clean the poison from the soil and water, then help the plants grow better than before. So Young studied the diagrams. What's the danger? We need a living test subject, Minho said quietly. Someone has to let the nanites into their body first, to show them how to work with Kitharan biology instead of against it. And if it goes wrong? The test. Subject dies, probably very painfully. So Young closed her eyes. I'll do it. Captain, no, Dawn said as she entered the lab. If anyone does this, it should be me. I'm the doctor. I'll do it, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see young Nira, the Kitharan child Dawn had saved on the first day. She looked much healthier now, her light patterns bright and strong. Absolutely not, Dawn said firmly. You're just a child. I'm dying anyway. Nira replied with surprising calm. We all are. If this works, it saves my people. If it doesn't, I die a little sooner. The choice is easy. Kale appeared behind her. The old Kitharan leader looked tired, but determined. She speaks for all of us. We have discussed this among ourselves. If there's a chance to save our world, we must take it. But the risk, So Young started, is ours to take. Kale interrupted. You have already given us hope. Now let us give you trust. The next day, they prepared for the experiment. Dawn had monitored Nira all night, making sure the child was as healthy as possible. Minho and Yejin had worked on the programming, code, creating instructions that would teach the nanites to heal instead of destroy. The entire underground city gathered to watch. Kitharans and humans stood together, all hoping for a miracle. Nira lay on a bed surrounded by medical equipment. She looked very small, but her light patterns were steady and bright. I'm ready, she said. Yejin activated the computer program. Around the city, nanites began to receive new instructions. Instead of their old, broken programming, they were given something completely different. They were taught about cooperation, about helping instead of controlling, about building up instead of tearing down. The nanites in Nira's body were the first to receive the new programming. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her light patterns began to change. New colors appeared under her skin, soft greens and blues mixed with her natural gold. The nanites are integrating with her cellular structure, Dawn reported, watching her instruments. But instead of destroying the cells, they're repairing them. Nira sat up slowly. She looked around with eyes that seemed to see more than before. I feel different, stronger, like I'm connected to something bigger. She stood and walked to the wall of the cave. When she touched it, something amazing happened. Green moss began to grow where her hand touched the rock. But this wasn't ordinary moss. It glowed with soft light and seemed to clean the air around it. It's working, Hyun-soo whispered. Over the next few hours, the change spread. Nanites throughout. The underground city began to follow Nira's example. Instead of breaking down organic matter, they started to heal it. Dead plants came back to life. Poisoned water became clean. The very air became easier to breathe. But the real test came when they went to the surface. Nira placed her hands on the brown, dead soil outside the cave entrance. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, tiny green shoots began to push up through the poisoned earth. My God, So Young breathed. It's actually working. Within hours, a small patch of healthy ground surrounded the cave entrance. Plants grew faster and stronger than they ever had before. The nanites were cleaning centuries of contamination and giving the natural ecosystem exactly what it needed to thrive. This is just the beginning, Yejin said, watching her computer readings. The nanites are learning from each other. The programming is spreading to nanites across the planet. How long before the whole world is healed? Kyle asked. If the process continues at this rate, maybe 6 months. For the first time since the humans had arrived, Kyle smiled. My people will live. But even as they celebrated, warning alarms began to sound from the harmony. Ships were approaching Kythera. Big ships. Angry ships. The Valorians had found out what the humans were doing, and they were not happy. The Valorian battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace like angry stars. 12 massive crystal ships, each one bigger than a city, formed a circle around Kythera. Their hulls glowed with deadly energy. ready to destroy anything that stood in their way. Captain So-Young stood on the bridge of the Harmony, watching the alien ships through the main screen. Her small human vessel looked like a toy compared to the Valorian dreadnoughts, but she was not afraid. "Incoming transmission," reported Communications Officer Bo-Ram. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly as she worked the controls. "Put it through," So-Young ordered. The screen filled with the image of Christarch Vex. The Valorian leader's crystal body pulsed with angry red light. When he spoke, his voice was like breaking glass. "Human vessel, you are in violation of galactic law. You have interfered with a quarantined world. You will cease all operations immediately and surrender your ship for inspection." So-Young stepped forward. "This world was never officially quarantined, Christarch, and we are providing humanitarian aid to a species in need. That's not against any law I know. You have tampered with Valorian technology without permission. Those nanites are our property. Property you abandoned centuries ago. Property that was killing an entire species." Vex's light grew brighter. "The Kitharans are an evolutionary dead end. We were correcting a mistake of nature. By committing genocide?" So-Young's voice was hard as steel. "That's what we call it, when you try to wipe out an entire race. You primitive humans do not understand the complexity of galactic management. Some species must be sacrificed for the greater good." "Says who?" "You?" Before Vex could answer, more ships appeared. The Nethri arrived in vessels that looked like metal storms filled with lightning. The Korath came in biomechanical ships that seemed to breathe and bleed. The human fleet was outnumbered 50-1. "So-Young," came a familiar voice over the radio. Admiral Siok-Jin's face appeared on a smaller screen. His ship, the Defiance, moved to position itself between the alien fleets and Kythera. "Admiral," So-Young replied. "Good to see you. Wouldn't miss this party for anything. How many humans do we have on the surface?" 3,000 medical personnel, plus support staff, and they're not leaving. Siok-Jin smiled grimly. "Then I guess we're staying too." Down on the planet's surface, the transformation continued. Everywhere Nira touched, life returned stronger than before. Other Kitharans had volunteered for the nanite integration process. Each success made the healing spread faster. Da-Un worked with a team of integrated Kitharans in what had once been a dead forest. Now, trees grew taller and stronger than they had in centuries. The air was clean and sweet. Birds had returned to sing in the branches. "Doctor," called Sarah, the young Kitharan healer. "Look at this." Sarah held up her hands. The light patterns under her skin now included threads of silver, the nanites working in harmony with her biology. When she touched a withered tree, it burst into bloom. "We're not just healing," Sarah said in wonder. "We're making everything better than it was before." "That's what happens when technology and nature work together," Da-Un replied, "instead of fighting each other." But their work was interrupted by the sound of ships overhead. The alien fleets had arrived. Teho ran into the forest clearing. "Doctor, Captain So-Young needs you back at the ship. The Valorians are demanding we surrender." "I'm not going anywhere," Da-Un said firmly. "These people need medical care." "The Valorians might attack." Da-Un looked around at the Kitharans she had been treating. Children who had been dying were now playing among the new flowers. Adults who had given up hope were working to rebuild their cities. "Then they'll have to attack all of us," she said. In space, the standoff continued. The alien fleets formed a vast circle around the planet. The humans were trapped in the middle, but they didn't try to escape. Christarch Vex spoke again. "Final. Warning humans, leave this world or face the consequences." "What consequences?" So-Young asked. "You'll attack medical ships? You'll kill doctors who are saving lives? Is that what the great Valorian Empire has become? We are preserving galactic order. You're preserving your own pride." A new voice cut through the transmission. Elder Kale appeared on the screen, speaking from the surface of Kythara. Behind him, the underground city was full of light and life. "Christarch Vex," Kale said quietly. "We know what you did to our world. Vex's crystal form flickered. I don't know what you mean. You're nanites. Your terraforming project. You tried to turn our world into crystal, like yours. When it failed, you abandoned us to die slowly. That project was terminated centuries ago. It has nothing to do with current events. It has everything to do with current events, Kale replied. You created this disaster. Then when we begged for help, you refused to clean up your own mess. Other voices joined Kale's. Kitharans across the planet spoke on the same frequency. Their combined voices created a harmony that was beautiful and powerful. We were dying because of you? They sang together. But the humans came. They didn't ask what we could give them. They didn't demand payment. They saw we needed help, and they helped. The alien fleet commanders listened in uncomfortable silence. The humans taught your nanites to heal instead of destroy, Kyle continued. They gave us back our lives. They gave us back our world. And now you want to punish them for your failures? Vex's form pulsed with angry light. But he said nothing. So Young seized the moment. The galaxy is watching, Christarch. Every species with a communication system can hear this conversation. Are you really going to attack medical ships to cover up your mistakes? This is not over, Vex snarled. Yes, it is, said a new voice. The screen split to show dozens of other alien races. Species that had remained neutral before were now speaking. Up. The Aquarian Council, the Draconian Empire, the Silicon Collective, all of them had heard the truth. The humans have done nothing wrong, declared Speaker Zara of the Aquarian Council. They provided aid to a dying species. That should be praised, not punished. The Valorians' actions are shameful, added Emperor Drax of the Draconians. To create a disaster and then refuse to fix it. This is not worthy of a galactic power. One by one, other races spoke in support of humanity. The Valorians found themselves alone, their lies exposed for all to see. But Vex was not finished. If you will not leave peacefully, then you will be removed by force. The Valorian ships powered up their weapons, crystal cannons that could destroy planets charged with deadly energy. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. Ships appeared between the human fleet and the Valorian weapons. Not alien ships, Kitharan ships, vessels grown from living wood and crystal, powered by the integrated nanites crewed by Kitharans who had been dying just weeks before. You will not harm our friends. Kale's voice rang out clear and strong. The humans saved us. Now we stand with them. The Kitharan ships were small and few. They couldn't match the firepower of the Valorian fleet, but they didn't need to. They just needed to show the galaxy that some things were worth fighting for, and that sometimes the smallest acts of courage could change everything. Fire, Vex commanded. The crystal cannons erupted with deadly light, aimed not at the human ships but at the brave Kitharans who dared to stand in their way. The Battle of Kithra was about to begin. The crystal cannons fired. Beams of deadly energy raced toward the small Kitharan ships. Everyone watching expected to see them destroyed in seconds. Instead, something impossible happened. The Kitharan vessels began to change. Their living hulls shifted and flowed like water. The crystal beams passed right through them without causing any damage. The ships had become translucent, like ghosts made of wood and light. How? Christarch Vex snarled from his command ship. Elder Kale's voice came through the communication channels, calm and strong. You taught our nanites to work with crystal, Christarch. Now they remember how to become like crystal when they need to. Andariu. Kitharan ships solidified again, now positioned even closer to the Valorian fleet. Behind them, human medical vessels continued their work as if nothing had happened. Impossible, Vex spat. Those primitives cannot adapt our technology so quickly. They're not adapting your technology, So Young replied from the harmony. They're improving it. On the surface of Kithara, the transformation was accelerating. Minho and Yejin watched in amazement as their computer screens showed nanite activity across the entire planet. The nanites are learning faster than we programmed them to, Yejin reported. They're sharing information at the speed of light. Look at this. Minho pointed to his scanner readings. The nanites aren't just healing the ecosystem anymore. They're enhancing it, making it stronger. In the forests, trees grew twice as tall as before. Their roots dug deep into the ground, cleaning contamination that had been buried for centuries. Flowers bloomed that could purify air just by existing. Rivers ran cleaner than they had in 1,000 years. It's not just about healing anymore, Yunsu observed as he studied the data. The nanites and the Kitharans are evolving together, creating something completely new. Dayun saw it firsthand as she worked with the integrated Kitharans. Sarah could now heal injuries just by touching them. Other Kitharans could make plants grow in minutes instead of months. They had become something more than they were before. We're not the same people who were dying in caves, Sarah told Dayun. But we're still us. The nanites didn't change who we are. They helped us become who we were meant to be. In space, the battle continued. But it was unlike any battle the galaxy had ever seen. The Valorian ships were powerful, but they fought the old way, with overwhelming force and superior technology. The Kitharans fought differently. Their ships moved like living things, flowing around attacks, striking from unexpected angles. And the humans? The humans fought smart. Captain So Young coordinated the defense from the Harmony. Her ship was small and lightly armed, but it was fast and its crew was clever. Boram, signal the Kitharan ships, So Young ordered. Tell them to phase through the Valorian hulls. Minho, can our people get onto their ships? If the Kitharans can get us close enough, yes, Minho replied from the surface. Do it. What happened next had never been tried before in galactic warfare. Kitharan bioships merged temporarily with human vessels. The living hulls flowed around the human ships like protective cocoons. Together, they phased through the Valorian crystal armor. Human boarding parties found themselves inside Valorian command centers. But they hadn't come to fight. Teho led one of the boarding teams onto Christarch Vex's flagship. Instead of weapons, he carried medical supplies and a portable computer. What is the meaning of this? Vex demanded as humans spread through his ship. We're here to show you something, Teho said calmly. He activated his computer, displaying the data from Kithara's surface. Look at these readings, Christarch. Your nanites aren't just working again, they're working better than they ever did before. The Kitharans didn't destroy your technology, they perfected it. Vex stared at the data. This is not possible. It's completely possible. You just never thought to ask the nanites what they wanted to do. You only told them what you wanted them to do. On the screen, images showed Kitharan cities that were more beautiful than anything the Valorians had ever built. Crystal and living wood grew together in perfect harmony. Technology and nature worked as partners instead of enemies. Your nanites are happy now, Teho continued. For the first time in centuries, they're doing what they were really designed to do, create something beautiful. Other human boarding parties were showing the same data to Korath and Nethri commanders. Everywhere the message was the same. Cooperation worked better than domination. The Korath, who had spent millennia replacing their organic parts with machines, saw Kitharans who had achieved perfect balance between technology and biology. The Nethri, who had abandoned physical form, watched beings who had enhanced their bodies without losing their souls. One by one, the alien commanders stopped fighting. They couldn't argue with the evidence in front of them, but Christarch Vex was not ready to surrender. Even if this is true, you humans had no right to interfere. The galaxy has rules. Rules that let entire species die. Daun's voice came over the communication system. She was still on the planet's surface, still treating patients. Rules that value pride more than lives. Rules that keep order. Whose order? So Young asked. Yours? The strong make rules that benefit the strong. But what about everyone else? Admiral, Seokjin's ship moved closer to the Valorian flagship. The galaxy is changing, Christarch. You can change with it, or you can be left behind. For a long moment, silence filled the space around Kithara. The great fleets hung motionless, waiting for Vex's decision. Finally, the Christarch spoke. Show me, he said quietly. Show you what? Show me how to make the nanites happy. 3 months later, The Grand Nexus station hosted a very different kind of meeting. The same council chamber that had once dismissed the Kitharans' pleas was now full of hope instead of indifference. Teho stood at the center of the great table, no longer just an observer. Beside him stood Elder Kael, whose light patterns now included threads of living crystal that sparkled like stars. The Kithara Accords, Teho announced, established new principles for galactic civilization. First, no species' call for help will be ignored. Second, intervention to prevent extinction is not just permitted but encouraged. Third, cooperation between species is valued above competition. Around the table, representatives from dozens of worlds nodded in agreement. Even Christarch Vex, his crystal form now showing patterns of green and gold, voted in favor. The Galactic Rescue Initiative will be headquartered on Kithara, Kyle added. Our world will serve as a training center for multi-species cooperation. We invite all races to send their best people to learn what we have learned. 6 months after that, Captain So Young stood on the bridge of the Harmony as it led a fleet toward another dying world. But this time she wasn't alone. Kitharan bioships flew alongside human vessels. Valorian crystal craft provided heavy support. Even the Nethri and Korath had sent ships to help. Captain, Boram reported, we're receiving a distress call from the planet ahead. The Zalani people are facing environmental collapse. Signal the fleet, So Young ordered. All ships prepare for rescue operations. Medical teams to the ready. Engineering teams stand by. Yes, Captain, came the reply from dozens of ships, dozens of species, all working together. Dayun joined. So Young on the bridge. She now wore the insignia of the Galactic Medical Corps, an organization that hadn't existed a year ago. How many species are we working with now? Dayun asked. 47 at last count, So Young replied. And more, joining every week. All because we refuse to let one species die alone. All because we remembered that being advanced means more than having the best technology. It means caring about others. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the Zalani homeworld. It was brown and dying, much like Kithara had been. But this time help had come immediately. This time no one was alone. As rescue ships launched toward the planet, So Young smiled. The galaxy was still vast and dangerous. There were still species that valued power over compassion. But things were changing. One world at a time. One life at a time. One choice at a time. The humans had shown the galaxy that there was a better way. Now that better way was spreading to the stars. In the end, the greatest human technology wasn't their ships or weapons or computers. It was their refusal to give up on anyone who needed help. And that technology was now going viral across the galaxy. The universe would never be the same.